Hello and welcome to Stabilize. Today we're going to be discussing, at rather large length, Savage Combatant. Now you might first start off this video by asking, why is this video so much longer than everything else? The reason is this is actually my second favourite Druid card, and even though Malorne only actually got 2 minutes of screen time, Savage Combatant is a little bit more intricate and therefore I think a little bit worthy of extended discussion. First off, let's look at its stat line. It is a 4-cost 5/4. It's not exactly amazing. For 4 cost you can get a 4/5. Stat-wise, honestly, it's nothing to cry home about. Then again, it's also nothing to massively shout from the rooftops and say this is the most amazing card in the game about. It's just a 5/4. This can mean it can get killed a little bit easier, but there's not actually that many 4 damage spells. To be honest, anything you can kill, any spell you can use to kill a 4 health minion, you can probably use to kill a 5 health minion. There's no real situation in which you probably can't get rid of it using the same sort of spell. As far as I know, there's no spell that actually just does 4 damage to a minion, and there's no spell that actually does 5 damage to a minion. I suppose you could argue that Goblin Blast Mage could kill it, but I think that's rather unlikely. The real shining example of why this minion is great is because it symbolizes something that I've always wanted in the game. Every time you use your hero power, you gain +2 attack this turn. This means your hero can hit for 3 every turn reliably for just 2 mana. This means, with Innovate, you can stack up a very, very large amount of hero damage. With Double Bite, Double Claw, and Inspire, you can get a very, 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 very large total of 13 damage in a single hit. Plus, you'll also get from that about 10 armor. In fact, you'll get 11 armor because of Shapeshift. In fact, the actual physical best combo you could get with this, if you played 2 Savage Combatants and you then faces and manipulated those Savage Combatants, so you had 4 on the board, though there's probably a way of getting more than 4 on the board, you could give yourself a phenomenal +8 to the base total of 11, giving you 19 hero damage. If you were able to fill the board out, you'd give yourself 25 damage on your hero, which is amazingly good. This actually really promotes the thing I absolutely love about Druid. It makes the Druid Shapeshift feel far more powerful. Now, Greater Shapeshift as well could be incorporated with this to give yourself that little bit of extra armor and extra damage, but I really like Savage Combatant simply from the basis of the amazing buff it gives you. You might think that 2 attack until the end of the turn is not that really much writing home about, but here's the thing. It's not a warrior weapon. Which means, you can't just destroy a weapon and gain anything from it. There are cards like Harrison Jones that could just flat out destroy it and then give you a benefit from it. This is just a buff. You can't silence it because it disappears at the end of the turn. You can't really counteract it except with Taunt. And because of the gigantic amount of damage you can do with a full combo of this, well, let's face it, nothing you have on the board is going to stop this. With this combination, you can make a Druid an unstoppable ball of power. This minion is Flame Strike bait though, so filling your entire board with Savage Combatants is probably a pretty bad idea. But just having 1 on the board gives you immediate value. Every turn your hero can strike for 3, and there's no way to counteract it. There's nothing that stops a hero power other than Saboteur. That's literally it. In fact, you can even take it 1 step further. If you play something like the card that changes your basic hero power, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, you can do something like summon a 1/1 and give yourself 2 attack this turn. Give yourself 2 armor and give yourself 2 attack this turn. In fact, stealing the warrior's hero power is probably the best thing you can do, because that means you can hit for 2 and take 2 damage every single turn. That's amazing. That's actually legitimately amazing. Savage Combatant has combos with cards that have only just been released because of the Inspire mechanic and the way it buffs your hero. It means, for example, you could heal a minion for 2 and gain 2 attack. Though, I don't necessarily see the benefit of doing that. You could summon Board and gain 2 attack. To be honest, I'm just listing all the possibilities right now, but you see what I'm trying to say. It's one of the most powerful Inspires, other than maybe Argent Confessor Paletriss. And compared to Paletriss, you'll find that Savage Combatant has the same stat line, and is a hell of a lot more useful, and a hell of a lot more practical than Paletriss, though I do like Paletriss significantly more than a random Druid. I have to admit that the main reason I like this card as well is because it's a bear form Druid, and I was a bear form Druid in WoW for a very, 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 very long time, so I'm naturally going to be a little bit more biased towards this card, because it reminds me of my time playing in World of Warcraft. but it's such a good idea. Something that benefits directly the druid's physical power to wipe your board straight off with his own face just makes me feel more druidic. It's an excellently thematic card. In fact, it's so useful you could put it with anyone and it would gain value. Literally any class in the game could play this card and gain value from it, because there's no situation except with a guy who's a huge, heavy-hitting taunt that this card is not useful. Because, let's face it, who doesn't want that extra 2 damage? Your hero can't normally attack, unless you're playing a very weapon-based character with a very weapon-based deck. Then the chances are you can't do this. This is reliable, consistent, hero-based damage. Combine this with Savage Roar, you get 5 damage. In fact, probably the highest you could go, you can probably get over 30 damage if you combine everything together with Savage Roars and Savage Combatants and Bites and everything else, but you'd have to have a very specific hand for this. To be honest, I just love the idea that with this card you can do what was never really possible before. You can buff up your druid to, in a single turn with exactly the right combination, instantly one-shot your opponent. And that's just a wonderful thing. It's more diversity to Hearthstone, and that's really something Hearthstone could use a little bit more of. It's not random. It's not that difficult to kill. It's not amazing by any standard. But I love this card because this card to me represents something that could really, really, really be useful in the future. Something truly wonderful and amazing is the uncontestable might and power of the Savage Combatant.